So love is what everyone seems to want. Only a few people have it the way that they want it when you look about the world around us. It seems to be odd how our world is filled with people whose needs for love go unfulfilled. You know, we have all these services and things to get you with the right person, to fulfill your need in whatever sort of way, because everybody wants to be loved. And the problem, I think, starts with our understanding of love and what we want from it. There's a kind of love that our Father wants for us that provides what our souls need and fulfills our purpose for existence. And the Apostle John constantly wrote about love being the most important command of Christ's teachings. John wrote that everyone who loves is born of God and knows God, and the one who does not love does not know God. Love provides the basis for a way of living that works, a way to care about people without giving up on them or throwing them away, a way to encourage people to be more than they are right now. And it's a way that's the basis of Jesus' commands to his disciples. So here we are, 1 Corinthians 13. Paul provides descriptive details about how to live this way. And so he says in verse 6, love does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. You know, there was an old song in the 80s when I was growing up called Things We Do for Love. I'm going to read you a little bit of this because this is it reminds me of this passage a little bit. It says, too many broken hearts have fallen in the river, too many lonely souls have drifted out to sea. You lay your bets and then you pay the price, the things we do for love. Communication is the problem to the answer. You've got her number and your hand is on the phone. The weather's turned and all the lines are down. The things we do for love. Like walking in the rain and the snow when there's nowhere to go and you're feeling like a part of you is dying and you're looking for the answer in her eyes and you think you're going to break up and then she says she wants to make up. And it goes on from there. But I think it's the neatest song. You can go online and download the lyrics for that to your ringtone if you like. A fun song about love. It's a crazy thing to do. It's crazy to be in love. Walking in the rain with nowhere to go. That's just stupid. But love does it. Why? And we all know the answer to that question, don't we? We want this thing. We long for it. We can't necessarily describe why, but we know why. Walking in the rain with nowhere to go. Paul's talking about much more than that kind of dating love that we sing about. He's talking about the way that we treat everyone all of the time, which makes it all the more shocking to read how he describes it as something we should do all of the time. And Paul's teaching is not some sort of half-hearted dedication to this subject, but an absolute ridiculous way of living, of treating everyone. Think about that. And so in verse 7, he gets there, and Paul makes his always statements. He delivers to us some absolutes about what love does. If you take this verse too far, love seems pretty stupid. Who could ever live a life where love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things? Well, you look to Jesus, right? And you see the example of what love does. Just take that one statement about believing all things. We love to say, I wasn't born yesterday, you know. We hear that around in our society a lot, don't we? Wasn't born yesterday. I'll trust you, but I wasn't born yesterday. And Paul's not saying that love is ignorant. He isn't encouraging the kind of belief in what isn't true. He doesn't mean that love believes the best about everyone and everything just because, but that it has faith in people all the time. You have to read it together with the stuff that comes after that. It hopes all things. In other words, love has this faith in people, this ridiculous faith in people. It hopes that they will do better and that they will be better. It counts on it. It gives people a chance, and then another again. As long as they want one. And that's the key, I think, that people want the relationship. It's not saying that you love without any desire in the person to improve and change and grow. There has to be a relationship there. But if there is, this teaching is the key to how love keeps going. And I always think, when I think about love, I think back to the movie Forrest Gump. I love the movie Forrest Gump. Don't know if you do, but here's Forrest Gump. He's living along. He loves this girl named Jenny. He loves her unconditionally throughout his life. And he tells Jenny that he loves her. And Jenny says, "Forrest, you don't love me." And Forrest makes this great statement for a man with a 70 IQ, right? He says, "I may not be a smart man, but I know what love is." And he does. He knows it a whole lot better than she does. She goes wandering around the world looking for love in so many different ways. She turns to drugs. She finds guys who beat her up. She's looking in all the wrong places and all the wrong kinds of guys and the wrong kinds of things. And she never really finds love. She's got love there, loving her all the time in Forrest. And she doesn't realize it. Doesn't understand it. And he does. It doesn't take a surgeon, it doesn't take somebody with nuclear rocket science to be able to figure it out. But you have to understand it. Forrest doesn't have any misconceptions about what he's going to get from Jenny, but he determined to keep on loving, always. And Jenny knew where she could find home at the end, in Forrest's arms. Forrest kept loving Jenny despite her stupid mistakes, despite how lost she became, despite the way that she even treated him. Because that's what love does. It keeps hoping, keeps believing, keeps enduring through things. Love like that is wild and crazy and lots of fun when you're in it. Fun to write about it. But Paul wants us to love like that all the time. Because when you love like that, you enjoy life a lot too, I think. There's something to get out of that. He wants us to love everyone. He's writing to a church with misconceptions about spiritual gifts and their importance. And so he's writing this description of love to fix the problems in the church, to fulfill the command, love one another. And his teaching isn't limited to family or friends. Unless you want to suggest that everyone in the church is your family and friends, and then it'll work fine just fine. It'll work just fine. If you want to admit that your neighbor is your good friend too, you're to love your neighbor with this broad definition of neighbor. And so Paul's commands are truly ridiculous. We are to love with this absoluteness. We are to bear all things, no matter how great the burden someone throws our way. Believe all things, no matter how many times we've tried before. That's why Jesus can say, forgive 70 times, 7 times. It hopes all things, wanting people to turn their lives around and act like the kind of friend that we need, that we long for. Endure all things, because we know there's a reason why people do what they do, the reason why they act the way that they act. Because they haven't yet learned what we know, how to love well. Hopefully we know that. And so we keep on believing and hoping that they'll love us the way that we want to be loved and the way that we love them. And so the thing that Paul wants us to learn from these verses is how it applies to us. We read that love does all these things. But what Paul really means is you and me. do all these things. Can you substitute your name in where love is the subject in this sentence? And put your name in its place? Then it reads a little bit differently. Then it says, Dot bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. It says John bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. It says Damaris believes all things, bears all things, hopes all things, endures all things. You see, it doesn't just look like something somebody else does. It's got to become something that's us. What we do. What we put into practice in the way that we live. To love people so overwhelmingly. And that's what Jesus did, of course, right? It's the reason why Jesus' gift is so amazing and so special, because he loved us to such an extent that it changed how we felt and what we were going to do with the rest of our lives. That's the message of Jesus Christ. It's a little bit ridiculous, and yet it works. And that's why God loves it, and that's why he does it for us. And it's because of the way he feels for us as well. It's because he has all of this within himself that he wants for his creation, for you as a person. Is that you? Who bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. That's God's plan. To put that nature of Jesus Christ, not just into his Son, but into every single person who decides to walk that path. And then love spreads around this world. It becomes contagious. It changes people and gives them hope. Because when somebody hopes in you, you have reason to hope in yourself. When somebody believes in you, you can't tell me it didn't change how you felt about yourself. You look back at somebody in your life who believed in you. I can think of a few people. Mentors where I used to work. Professors in various colleges. Friends who saw me through tough times. You think about those people. And they made you who you are. And gave you a great gift of understanding God's love of it. So